science programs. We provide classroom educators with training and toolkits. We are available to the public. If a teacher wanted to come to us and say, hey, I want to teach my kids about vet science or farm animals, we have toolkits that are prepared already to give to them to lease out. Another popular educational program is embryology, where public school teachers or private school teachers can actually come and lease out or rent out an incubator, and they can do an incubation project in their classroom. We participate in a lot of summer library programs. Each year, the 4-H, National 4-H comes out with a new curriculum. This year is called Fizz Boom Read, and it's going to be about electricity. So there's a lot of hands-on kits for that. And we always have open public workshops. I'm going to be starting up in March a vet science workshop that will be open to kids in the public who can come. It's a 4-session series, and we will do one field trip to an actual veterinary clinic. So we try to reach out to the public because these kids who aren't directly associated with 4-H are our future 4-Hers. So we try to trigger that interest, and the success rate is pretty good. We don't have the numbers offhand at the moment, but it's really to have a kid say, what is 4-H, and then they say, oh, well, how do I join 4-H? So it's really rewarding. And I put up We Need You because we're always in need of adult support in our 4-H and youth programming. Us as agriculturalists, we need to be proactive and be involved in the lives of our future agriculturalists before it's too late, because seeing you really allows them to make that connection between what's going on. And I remember my dad went in for career day and he went in his barn clothes. It was kind of embarrassing, but he was the most interesting guy there. They had so many questions for him, and he brought in silage, and it was just, kids want to learn about that. They really want to know where their food comes from, and they're really amazed by it. So that's all I have for today for everybody. And then I just put up this quote: agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will in the end contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. And that was written by Thomas Jefferson. So that's all I have. So I guess we're going to open up to discussion now.
You should keep that up though, huh?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
I think we have, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes?
So how many kids who leave this program actually do go into agriculture?
We have a 5-year report every year. So we are looking at the kids who graduated 5 years ago, and it's surprisingly high. It can range, anywhere from 40 to 60%. But what I'm going to do though is step back and say that no matter whether it's the 60% that don't go in or the 40%, we're always consumers, right? And so whether it's 4-H or FFA or a combination of both, we're always going to be consumers. And so to be able to go to the vet's office, to be able to go to the supermarket, all of that education is still going to be pretty important. But it's neat to be able to track them. And it depends on kind of where they land, 5 years later. We also ask the hard question, like, was it worth it? Was it worth doing the SAE? Was it worth doing? And I would say 9 times out of 10, they say yes. To get up there and do the public speaking contest and talk for 6 minutes. I had a kid turn blue one time. I never saw that in my life. I heard about it when she was a sophomore. By the time she was a senior, she was the first one to go. I get heebie-jeebies just thinking about that because it was amazing. And they'll say that those hard ones, those working with the community, trying to get someone to stop in front of a supermarket and talk to them about where their food comes from, that's a hard thing for a teenager to do. Especially when these things aren't needed.
Yeah. And going back to that, when I was in college, almost all of the kids in the ag programs were either a 4-H member or an FFA member. So whether it be, you know, they go to school for early childhood, they're always going back to the family farm, whether it be on the weekends, or a lot of times they'll go into a career thinking this is what I want to do, but then, you know, maybe 5 years down the road, they're like, I really belong home on the farm. And that's where their heart lies. So, and I think that's what happened to me. You know, I really thought I was going to go on and do into early childhood education, but growing up in agriculture and just being a part of it, you know, it really brought me back to my roots. And for kids who haven't grown up in agriculture, you know, that's where these programs play in. And, you know, there's so many different fields you can go into and be a part of the agricultural system that it's amazing. I mean, there's legislature. I mean, you could be a politician. You can, you know,
Be a writer, be a
a
photographer,
writer,
yeah,
advertising.
everything.
I mean, so it's, you know, it's a huge industry.
I was one of those kids. I grew up in Mystic, Connecticut, you know, where the tall ships are and all that. And I had 6 chickens in the backyard, and that was my SAE project. Because zoning, well, we couldn't have any animals, but Dad was on the zoning board at the time. So, but I needed to have that experience, and, you know, then went to college and met Jim, but I had never touched a cow until he helped me really clip my first Jersey cow, okay? Thanks to his clipping, he got first. It was the first blue ribbon I ever earned in my life, but you know, I did not come from this at all, and found that going through an FFA program or an Ag Ed program in high school, that I had to leave my town, all the kids I grew up with, I had to leave them and drive an hour, or have the bus drive me an hour, to get to my Ag Ed school in Ledger. That, you know, you kind of know that you're passionate when that happens. And again, I did get into agriculture because we're on a dairy farm, but my real passion, of course, is education, like Amanda's. So you can see the two different things. And again, all of these kids that we touch, whether they're coming from that 1% or 2% or coming from all the rest, if we can get them to think and ask questions and not always go with the flow of the popular media, no offense here, you know, but they have to be able to think on their feet, and they have to be able to find valid information, especially now with the information craziness that's going on. And that's really hard.
And going,
Go ahead.
okay. And going back to what Karen said, her not being that farm kid, you know, but being an FFA, there's such a sense of community in these two programs that, you know, there's a kid who really wants to show a dairy cow, but they don't have the proper facilities or resources to raise that at home. There's always that volunteer that steps up and says, hey, you know, I'll leash you one of my calves, come to my farm, work with it. There's always, you know, like I said, that great sense of community. We want to see young people do this. And I think just being there and helping one another, I mean, when a barn fire happens, you'd be amazed at the people that just come together. I mean, it's really, you know, I get goosebumps thinking about it because it's just an amazing community to be involved with.
I was going to say, it doesn't really matter if you're a farmer, but some of the things that I learned in FFA, and I graduated in '61, just a few years ahead of you. Yeah, right.
You're no spring chicken. That doesn't look good for you, Dave.
No, but anyway, parliamentary procedure.
Yes.
Robert's Rules of Order, public speaking, all of those things I've used in almost every job I've had in my life, and mostly in volunteer jobs. I was the president of the school board in Pine Plains for like 8 years, and somebody in the audience challenged me one night about tabling a motion. Well, how do you know that's right? And I quoted parliamentary, you know, I quoted Robert's Rules of Order, told him we met in the library, you go find the book and tell us at the end of the meeting whether I was right or wrong. So at the end of the meeting he says, you were right. But you use those things in trying to calm down a real unruly meeting.
Yeah, wetlands meeting.
Yeah, and so those are skills that you learned that, I didn't turn out to be a farmer, I was an agricultural agent. I was born and raised on a farm, but those things really pay off.
Right.
What are the trends in participation? So as we're seeing, like the statistic that you showed about the farms decreasing, is that affecting? And is this a steady incline? Is this a big explosion? Kind of is there a new interest or?
For us, it's been a steady.
Very, very steady.
We've lost. We went out maybe 5 years ago. We had 600 kids in the high school. Now we have 400, and we have more kids in the ag program now than we ever have, because we are looking into those science careers, and because they're actually going out there to look at wildlife, to look at the environment as far as Envirothon goes, or work with a veterinarian, or all of these different things. They're saying that, wow, it's not all just this, and I can go and practice it. So we have about 40% of the kids in the school now. And when I started there, it was about, I would say maybe about 12%. So it is a steady incline. The problem with our area is the declining enrollment, period. My brother-in-law on the other end of the state, he will probably get about 300 applications every year, and he can take 80. You know, the application number has gone up, and he can take so few. We can't recruit because we're right at the corner of the state where we fall into Massachusetts and New York. So the only kids that will come to our ag program would be the kids from our 6 sending towns that would normally come to the high school, although some of the Massachusetts kids pop over. Where, you know, with all the other ag programs, there are 20 in Connecticut. They can recruit from all of their sending towns, and they're compensated by the sending town and also by the state. We are so lucky in Connecticut. That's what we were talking about with New York. The financial revenue isn't available. We are very, very lucky in Connecticut. Again, but it's open to any child, just like it is with Amanda's program.
Right.
Well, we're doing both anyway.
As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me.